Ladies and gentlemen, it actually happened. I never thought we would see the day, but Double Tap has made it to Black Ops 6 Zombies, and just as I suspected, it completely changed the meta of the game, and I spent hours testing every single weapon and how they function with Double Tap and some of the different augments, and I want to show you what I believe now to be the 13 best pack-a-punched weapons in Black Ops 6 Zombies, and I'm going to show you my attachments to apply to your zombie build, because I've actually had to rethink some of my attachment slots now because Double Tap has made a lot of my choices null and void for a variety of reasons. Now, the real secret sauce that I think breaks the meta of this game is the major augment for Double Tap, specifically called Double Standard. Essentially, this makes body shots or non-criticals deal double their regular damage, and this is very important for some of the weapons that we're going to talk about here. Specifically, coming in at number 13 is the KSV. Now, that on its own is nothing out of the ordinary, right? I've had the KSV on plenty of videos talking about the best pack-a-punched guns, and part of the reason for its consistency is not only is it strong, but it shoots really fast. Now, obviously, its non-pack-a-punched fire rate isn't anything crazy, but upgrading it gives it the ability to fire faster. But then you can stack that with the rapid fire attachment, which will make it shoot even quicker. And now you can stack it with not only the base perk of Double Tap, but also the minor augment, which further increases your rate of fire. And I found all of these things in combination, this gun honestly shoots a little too fast now. Now, not for all of the weapons on this list, but for some of them, I'm actually going to recommend that instead of the rapid fire attachment, you might want to consider something like the recoil springs or even FMJ. A weapon like the KSV or the Compact, where if you use Double Tap and all this rapid fire stuff and really push the rate of fire up, that can be great for theoretical DPS, but then what you realize is when practically trying to use it in game, it's really difficult to hit consistent shots or even critical points for that matter. So at a certain point, pushing that rate of fire up, you get diminishing returns, and I think the KSV is the easiest example. It's still an amazing gun, but I've changed my build a little bit now with the addition of Double Tap, and I think it makes it feel a lot better. I've also changed the grip so that it can handle the vertical recoil a little bit better as well, but trust me, the builds get much more interesting from here. Before we go any further, I want to thank today's sponsor. Raycon's everyday earbuds have been an absolute game changer for me. I'm not gonna lie, I was that guy at the gym for the longest time with still wired earbuds, and it's about time I've got rid of these things. So Raycon really came through with a massive upgrade. With a quick charge function of 10 minutes, giving you 90 minutes of battery life and a 32-hour max battery life, they are always reliable to use whenever or wherever you are. I love my Raycons personally because I love to go to the gym, just completely tune out the world and just get my workout done. You know, I don't want people like bothering me and stuff like that, so I just turn on noise cancellation and I'm good to go. They also feature active noise cancellation, which can be very difficult to find at a reasonable price point. And they're built for everyday life, so they're incredibly versatile. And not to mention all of the color options and customization you have, it can make for an incredible Mother's Day gift. My mom always listens to my YouTube videos, so unfortunately the surprise would be a bit spoiled on her, but you can still surprise someone you love with an amazing set of high quality everyday earbuds that are sure to make a difference. Head on over to buyraycon.com/chopper. Use a link in the description for 20% off the entire site, which is an incredible deal. And thank you to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. Coming in at number 12 is the Kilo 141, the brand new assault rifle added with the release of Warzone, but we're not playing Warzone. In Zombies, it's actually not a bad option. The thing with the Kilo is once all of these attachments are applied, and even including rapid fire, this is a very steady option, and as you can see, it absolutely eviscerates bosses, and while its damage isn't necessarily the highest that we're going to see on this list, it's still very respectable. As you can see, it's having no problem handling manglers, amalgams, and even Patient 13. But the highest praise I can give to using the Kilo is that it's very steady, it's a laser beam, and it's easy to use, which right now with the meta of Double Tap is important because a lot of your favorite weapons or stuff that you might be used to using prior are going to feel much different with Double Tap added because it adds a significant amount of recoil. So while the Kilo doesn't have the highest DPS in the whole game, it's still incredibly respectable, but it's most importantly very easy to use and just super low recoil. Moving on, and coming in at the number 11 spot is the SWAT 556, specifically the Growl conversion. Now, this weapon in its base vanilla without the conversion kit is absolutely mid. It's probably one of the worst guns in the game, but with this conversion, it actually changes from a marksman rifle more to an assault rifle, which is obviously, traditionally a lot better in the meta of Black Ops 6. And with the addition of double tap, not only is this a laser beam as well, but it has a very good DPS. One of the big downsides is you may find yourself melting through ammo, but I mean, this is practically one of the only ways to make the marksman rifle class somewhat useful, and it's literally making it not a marksman rifle in order to do that, so it's kind of ironic. But if you have the Growl conversion kit, this is not a bad idea at all. Moving on to our number 10 spot is one of my favorite guns in the game, the Siren 9mm, a very respectable DPS, an amazing, easy gun to use, feels a lot like an SMG. Technically, it's classified as a special weapon, but it doesn't have a whole lot of attachment options, and even with double tap, I really haven't changed anything. But the problem is, even though this is great DPS, it has very poor range. This can be especially noticeable in stuff like the Z-Rex boss fight, which again, I pretty much recommend using a ray gun for that anyhow, but even if you're trying to shoot zombies in that arena, you can kind of tell that the range is definitely one of its biggest downsides. So that's the only thing to consider. Double tap does make it feel a lot better, especially up close, because it didn't have the, most wicked fire rate, but it's still very easy to control an absolute laser beam, and I would still highly recommend it. Coming in at number 9 is the SVD. This weapon just got a lot more interesting. And again, this has appeared pretty consistently on all of my lists as well, but I like this a lot more now, and I've actually changed the build significantly. You can take off the CHF barrel because with double tap and the way it works now, you don't really need it because the CHF barrel essentially makes the hitbox bigger that will count as a critical. But now with the double tap augment that will deal double damage for non-criticals, you can pretty much one-shot anything, whether it's a critical or a body shot. It does insane damage, and one of its other biggest downsides was that it had a pretty slow fire rate, but double tap seems to fix that right up, and as you can see, this thing is kind of a monster now. Still, the only real downside to running the SVD is that it doesn't have the best handling and mobility, and double tap doesn't really go so far to fix that issue. So if you can put up with that, the SVD is going to be a fine option for anything. And again, between its shotgun and marksman rifle capabilities, I think this is a very versatile option. Coming in at number 8, we have the ASG shotgun. Now, strangely, it seems with the release of Season 3, Treyarch actually nerfed the fire rate of this weapon in a stealth patch. It seems that they slightly reduced the rate of fire without even mentioning it, and again, you can kind of push that up through rapid fire and with double tap, and it still does feel really good, but that is something to mention, and the double standard augment really takes this weapon to the next level, because again, with a shotgun, most of the time, you're going to be hitting non-criticals, or at least for the most part, there's a much higher chance that you're hitting the body instead of the head. And if you're dealing double the damage, then, well, you're pretty much still one-shotting everything into round 30. I've always liked the ASG, but it's fluctuated a little bit for me just based on the current meta of the game, and I don't think the ASG is necessarily the best option for the new map, for example, but it's still a really good, solid, just, moderate option for everything else. You really can't go wrong with it, but they did make some stealth changes to this weapon, but double tap and specifically this new augment completely breaks this one. Coming in at our number 7 spot is the Tonto SMG that got a little bit of a buff before Season 3 released, and I wanted to check it out because it's always been a solid pick in BO6, but, getting a buff, I wanted to see how much better it was. The thing is, though, I was shocked by how much double tap completely breaks this weapon, and not necessarily in a good way. The Tonto has always had an issue with kind of intense vertical recoil, but double tap has made that problem twice as bad. It's kind of crazy, and it made me completely rethink my original build, and where I have it now with these attachments, it's a lot better and more manageable, but still that first recoil can be kind of rough, and it's still not the most consistent option. I think the recoil pattern needs to be maybe reworked a little bit with double tap, because if you're holding down the trigger with double tap, you need to be pulling down hard, like all of the time, even just to keep it relatively in the center of your screen. This is one of those guns where you might want to consider taking off rapid fire, because we have double tap, the fire rate isn't really an issue anymore, and you can have something like the recoil springs or or even FMJ. But moving away from that, coming in at our number 6 spot is the Fang LMG. This was introduced, I believe, back at the start of Season 2, and I wasn't really super sure about this one. I did include it on my list, but it was somewhere high up, like it wasn't a top 5 or anything. But I do think this deserves a little bit more praise now, because Double Tap has made this number 1 a lot more effective, but the CHF barrel specifically is unique on this weapon. You get a massive 18% damage increase with this barrel, and alongside the rapid fire and now double tap attachments, this one can be kind of crazy. If you like LMGs and there was any question about which one you should be running, it is absolutely the Fang, because it is now by far the highest DPS LMG in the game by a mile, and I don't really see that changing anytime soon. Coming in at our number 5 spot is the Krig C, an absolutely fantastic pick now, and probably one of the most consistent options you can run if you like automatic weapons. You're going to get one of the highest damage outputs in the game. Absolutely do run the CHF barrel, and I considered taking it off, but ultimately I left the rapid fire attachment on, because even despite all of these changes, I don't think that the recoil is too crazy to not be able to handle. You do have to pull down a little bit more than you're probably used to, and I did ultimately change the muzzle and the grip to kind of mitigate that recoil a little bit, because again, a high DPS or a high rate of fire is nothing if you can't actually hit those shots, and I think this is the best middle ground between having a very accurate weapon but still putting out a lot of damage very consistently and fast. Coming in at number 4 is the classic, it's never gonna not appear on this list, the GS45 pistols, and in fact I've not even really changed the build at all, but what has changed with these is double tap, and it's not the rate of fire that we're looking at here, it's the double standard augment, which increases the damage of non-criticals, and it does appear like it affects the GS45s, and so this makes the explosions feel a lot better. You know, these are really good to use now. I still wouldn't recommend these for the new map, and specifically in the boss fight, I don't think it's a good idea. The GS45 has not been a good option for the last couple of maps, at least as far as the boss fights are concerned, but if you're just playing the map casually and just want to kill zombies, this is always going to be a great option, and maybe while this doesn't take the most advantage of double tap, it is still a lot better than it was, and it's worth using. Coming in at the number 3 spot was one of my previous number 1s, the AMR Mod 4. Now, this is a Barrett 50 cal sniper rifle that, again, I believe got added at the start of Season 2, and is one of my favorite guns in the game by far. I have slightly changed my build on this, but the thing is, I don't feel the need to take off rapid fire, because it actually behaves very well with double tap, and it doesn't seem like it gets a big increase in recoil either, or if it does, it's very, very manageable. But the damage output you get is more than worth it. This weapon single-handedly nullifies like every single marksman rifle in the game, because it shoots faster than most of them and does more damage by a massive margin. And once again, with the double standard augment, you know, hitting criticals on elites, for example, will eviscerate them, but even if you're hitting body shots, you don't get punished as much, which is a very nice addition. Now, we did get the HDR sniper rifle added very recently as well, and you might be wondering if it's on this list. Spoilers, it's not. That gun kind of sucks. It's not very practical for zombies, even though the damage per bullet is pretty impressive. You still definitely want to go with the AMR Mod 4. It is the best sniper rifle in the game by a mile. Now, coming in at our number 2 spot is the AS Val, our previous top pick, and it still has, if not one of the highest DPSs in the whole game. I mean, with double tap, you are going to shred everything with ease. You can see that it annihilates health bars. This makes a lot of the boss fights in Black Ops 6 completely easy mode. Now, the only real downside is that its recoil, even before double tap, was kind of strong and a little bit intense, but with double tap, it becomes a little bit more difficult to manage. Strangely enough, I don't think it has as bad recoil even as the Tonto, so at least to some capacity, it's pretty easy to deal with, but still, it is a noticeable increase. I considered taking off rapid fire on the AS Val, and if you want, you can take it off and put on something like recoil springs to stabilize it a bit more, or even FMJ for like normal zombie penetration, and that's fine. Either one is honestly a good option. I just find it crazy that I spent the entirety of Black Ops 6 like really trying to push the DPS and fire rate of a lot of these weapons, you know, to really maximize them. But now double tap has been added, which has kind of nullified that problem, but it's added new ones, which is mostly recoil control and being able to actually hit critical shots. So you can run rapid fire, you can run recoil springs on the ASFL. Either way, this is one of the highest damaging weapons in the game by far, and it's still relatively easy to use. Before we unveil our number one spot, which is the brand new meta in Black Ops 6, I want to give two honorable mentions. Number one to the Sigma 2B. Now, this is something I didn't realize until recently. When you fully pack-a-punch this to tier 3, you get a 48 times damage scaler with this weapon. So there is a massive difference between PAP 2 and PAP 3 with this weapon. And obviously, I recommended this highly for Citadel Day More with the traps that you can find around the map, the points of power. And it's still really good on that. And you can use it on Shattered Veil, but it is a little bit more situational than, you know, a lot of the other guns on this list. The other one is the Saga Kimbo, ones that I've recommended here and there and I want to like more, but now with double tap I like it tremendously more because double standard makes this very usable because, you know, it's very difficult to hit consistent criticals with an akimbo weapon, but if you're dealing double damage with even non-criticals, then the Saga Kimbos are an actually solid pick. The problem is still that they don't have a great amount of range and the accuracy is still kind of ridiculous. It's not very good even now. But finally, ladies and gentlemen, coming in at the number one spot, the brand new meta in Black Ops 6, in my opinion, is the CR56 AMAX Assault Rifle. This is a brand new weapon with Season 3, and it is genuinely insane. Now, you might be wondering, what's the big deal? It's just a random AR. That is true, especially if you're just using the normal magazine. The secret sauce is located in the 10-round mag. This attachment specifically makes the damage profile go off the charts, and you can do some very interesting things with double tap augments. Now, I do recommend rapid fire. I do recommend pushing that rate of fire very high. And while the 10-round mag isn't awesome when it's unpack-a-punched, when you do upgrade it, you get 60, which is pretty much the standard for a lot of assault rifles, which, believe me, is more than enough to deal a lot of damage with this weapon. You're going to be one-shotting pretty much everything. Doppelgast, you can kill amalgams in like 3 to 4 shots. This weapon actually feels kind of broken. I'm not even just saying that as like hyperbole gamer word. Like, it legitimately feels like the damage profile is broken. And we'll see if they make any fixes to this, but it is truly crazy. I wanted to show you how good the damage output can be against the Guardian on Citadel, and I tried this multiple times, but it seems like the update broke the Easter egg quest for Citadel, so I couldn't even get to the boss fight, which was, you know, wonderful. But you're just gonna have to trust me on this one. Get this weapon, put the attachments on, go pack-a-punch it, and see what it can do. Take it in the Terminus boss fight, take it into the Z-Rex, for example, and you're gonna see really the potential of this. I don't see this ever getting knocked down as the meta right now in Black Ops 6 unless something else big gets added, but double tap has completely turned everything on its head, and I wanted to give you guys a bit of an updated list of what now I consider the best guns in the game by far in BO6 Zombies. So hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.